Okay, welcome to my channel, Canny Gaming. My name's Mark, and today I'm going to look at a file that's been shared on the Steam forum. It arose from a question that a user had about some problems they've been having with the game. There was a bit of a discussion, and in the end they shared their save file on in a Dropbox. And they kindly agreed that I could have a look at this and share information about that on my channel. So I appreciate that from them. So the city is called Vranyoskaya. I'm just going to load that up. So here we are in Vranyoskaya, and what we've got is we've got a fairly reasonable sized city here, which the player has created. And if we look from here, we see that it's pretty much arranged around a straight road right through the center of the city. And we can see that even further if we go up into the clouds and look almost down on it. We can't go too far because we get actually into the clouds and it starts being quite misty and you can't always see it. So there's the city, and in the center where the name is, there is a residential area with a lot of people living there. And the original problem that the users seem to have was with the water system. Now, the water system was something that was added new in a fairly recent update, not the most recent. The most recent update has come with realistic mode, but water and sewage was added, I believe, earlier this year, but I could be wrong about that. It may have been more around April, May time. I can't remember. But I certainly think and of course I'm talking about April, May 22. I don't believe it was before 2022. Anyway, we will look at the water system, the overall water system in the city, if we have time. But the first thing is that it's almost certainly not the problem that's causing the issue with this city. The users started off with problems where they weren't able to get enough water probably to their buildings. Residents complained about it in their apartment blocks. Shops and things like that don't properly function if they're not getting water delivered. So we will have a look at that. But what they had an issue with was getting people to actually come and work in the water treatment plant and in the water well. Now, this is not an uncommon problem that people have, of getting people to go and work at places that are outside of the walking distance for their citizens. And you say that, I'm going to assume that the player started with these buildings, which are, these huge tower blocks, 8 of them. These are provided in the Ukrainian DLC, so if you don't have the DLC, you won't see these. And I think in the vanilla game, the tower blocks that you can get are much smaller than this. Yeah, the vanilla ones are 179, 138, 127, 189. Those sort of numbers. 174. This one here, this prefab one, that allows 257, and this one allows, it's 337. So you can get a tower block like that in the vanilla game, which has 337 people in it. So you can see the height difference that the DLC provides you, and you get 593 people, nearly 600 people in one of these apartment blocks. So the user had created a city with 8 of these, and you say that at the top of the screen here, we have 7,162 people living in our city. Now, the game's on pause. If I unpause this, I'm going to do it fairly briefly. What you'll see is 160 people, 153, 152, 149, 148. So every second or two that this game is unpaused, that population falls. If I was to play the game on faster speed, you will see hundreds of people leaving this city in a fairly short period of time. Now, that is not being caused by the water. But anyway, we'll start with the water. And what we've got is, if we go to the overlays, we've got an option here which is building overlays. Now, this is very useful to find buildings in a city that you're not familiar with, or just because you forgot where your own buildings are. Because what happens here is, if I turn on the water treatment, enable that, you see that one of the buildings here right in front of me has a name now on it, and it did not have the name before. I'll just prove that if I go to one of the other overlays. See, it has no name on. I put the building overlay on for water treatment, and there's the name. So it helps highlight where a building is when you've lost your way trying to find something. The other building that we're interested in is the water well, and you see that's just to the right, also right in front of us. So it's the two buildings here. So there's the water treatment. Just drag that over to one side there. And you see when I drag the window, it has a red pin and stays open when I open a second window. I can drag that and have a red pin. I can have 3 or 4 windows open. So I've got the two buildings there at the edge of the city here, and I will say here, and I'll come back to this. This city's been built on a hill, and what I will refer to it. I mean, we can bring the map up with an M. Let me just minimize that. And get our bearings. Okay, so in fact, when we're looking towards the customs house up that direction, we are looking to the west. So this is the east of the city, but I'll probably just refer to it as the part of the city which is down the hill, and the other buildings are up the hill. There's a slope on this road all the way up all the way up towards the customs house. So these are at the bottom of the hill, and the two buildings here. So the first report was that nobody was working in these, and therefore no water was being produced. So the first thing to note is that a big water well needs 7 people to work there, and a water treatment plant needs 10 people. Now, the first thing to note, of course, is that there is people working here. So the initial report in the forum that nobody was working in these buildings is no longer correct. And I suspect that's because of the discussion that we had. So one of the things that was pointed out was that you can place residences quite close to these two buildings because they do not produce pollution. So you've got a problem that you know, if I minimize this and I go up the hill, then what we see is we don't have any factories in this city, but what we do have is a heating plant and a power plant. And you see there, you can even visually see it, the heating plant here right in front of us, the big chimney, is producing smoke. It produces pollution, as does the power plant that is behind it. So in those cases, you really ought to avoid putting residences very close to those pollutant buildings. But the water treatment and the well do not produce pollution, so you don't have a problem. So I think what happens is that the player has then placed this little apartment block, like this dinky little old style apartment block here, which is described as flats brick. And this holds 12 people. And there is another one there, exactly the same style, which also has 12 people. So between them, the two of them have 24 people living in them. So I think that the first attempt was to put these two apartment blocks here. So there would be somebody living close to these two buildings that would go and work in them. And then I think they still had a problem. Now, why do they still have a problem? And I think what's not very obvious in the game until you become a lot more familiar with it and really delve into the mechanics is that people do not go and work in a place all the time. So it's not like some games, there's some city management games and things like that where you tell somebody you have to work in the farm, and they go and work in the farm 24 hours, 24/7. Or even if there's a mechanic where they go to sleep at night, they go back and work the following day, and they're the only people who work in it, and there's no other people come and work shifts. Whereas that's not the case in this game. There is a process whereby there's a sort of shifts. Now, I would understand the shifts in a factory to mean that if you have 100 people working in the factory that work shifts, you'll have 100 people start at 8 o'clock in the morning. 100 people will finish at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 hours later, and be replaced by another 100 people. And then at, say, midnight, those 100 people will finish their shift, and another 100 people will start and work for 8 hours. So you have that sort of arrangement with shift patterns. Now, the game doesn't do that. People just start and end their work days randomly throughout the period. So you will see people, I was going to say you'll see people coming and going from a workplace all the time. That's not entirely true. You never see people leaving a workplace. You only see people arriving. When they finish their work day, they just teleport all the way back to their homes. So we can see on the map in front of us, actually, we can see somebody arriving for work at the water treatment plant. And we can see that the water treatment plant is not currently full of people. There's 6 out of 10. So there's 4 slots. So people can arrive for work now. Once there is another 4 people working here, and there's already 10, nobody will arrive for work. So even if there was people available to come to work here, they wouldn't come. And the idea that there's shifts comes from the fact that when somebody leaves, they've done their 8 hours, somebody else will come in their place. So there will be a bit of a gap because the second person who comes has to travel to work. Now, the outcome of that is that you basically, with an 8-hour working day, would imagine that means that that's a third of a day. Now, we have a really strange setup of how people's sort of, if you like, daily routine works. But we do have a 16-hour period, which is called free time, so that when we have the people in this block and we can view them by clicking the icons here, if we click the plus, we can see all 12 of them have separate icons, and we can hover over every single one of them. So the first person in the building here is Yulia, who's age 22. She has a lifespan of 71 and a productivity of 58%, which is not very good. And her home building is this Vranyoskaya flats brick 2. And Yulia is in her free time. She is 2 minutes into her free time. She's basically just started her free time seconds ago, and has nearly the whole of her 16 hours of free time remaining. Now, in her free time, she has to find food, clothes, electronics and culture. That'll vary from day to day what her current demands will be, except that food will be on that list nearly every single day, if not every day. People need food. They also need meat most days. You will also see that some people are alcoholics. They want alcohol every single day, though that's not in every case. But there's a percentage of you people are alcoholics and they want to drink alcohol every single day. So for 16 hours, Yulia's not working. Now, if we go to the next person, we'll say Gasper. Gasper is also in free time, 3 hours into his free time, and he has demands for food, meat and drink. And then we have Stelia, who is 4 hours into their free time. And then we find Artemi. And Artemi is in a working shift. He's not in the free time. So although he has current demands here, he's not within the 16 hours where he actually goes to the shops or the cinema or the restaurant or whatever to meet those demands. He has to go to work now. Now, his working shift is 0 hours and 0 minutes. He's not actually at work yet. And at the minute, we say further down, we say that Artemi is walking from the flats where he lives to the big water well. So if I click on that icon, Artemi, that screen that we could say visible becomes much bigger, and that's quite helpful to read actually than the smaller one. But it also has an icon here which is an eye. Now many of the windows in the game have an eye here, and that allows you to view vehicles, buildings and people. You can focus in on them on the screen where they are. Now if I click that eye, we'll go to Artemi, and what we see is Artemi is this person walking along the road. So he has not gone very far from his home, but he's walking to work now, and the game tells us that he's walking to the water well, and the water well is that building right in front of us down the road. That small building just off to the right here that he could turn off and go down the road. That's a power substation. Nobody works there. So the only reason to walk down this road is if you're going to work at the water well. Let's play the game. And sure enough, let's speed it up. We say Artemi surely is going there, and let me just close the window for the flats and open the window for the water well. And what we see, there's currently 6 people working there, so there is one slot, and there we go, Artemi has taken that slot. He is the last person working there, and we have full production. We have 7 people out of a maximum of 7. And so we have demonstrated that the water well and the water treatment plant are getting people working there, and some of those people at least are coming from these 2 apartment blocks. But I wonder if it wasn't realized at first that if you have 24 people living in these apartment blocks, the maximum number of people who could possibly work at the water treatment and the water well are 8 out of the 24. 8 at any one time. And the 2 buildings need 13 people to be at full production. And in fact, you're unlikely to get the full 8 people working, as well as the time that they have the 8 hours working and the 16 hours free time. There is also time it takes them to walk to work, or even longer if they have to get to work on a bus or a train. And then the game also puts in some random time, so they don't all go to work at the same time. They don't all go to the shops at the same time. And that random time can be anything from 1 hour to 9 hours. So if you add the travel time together and the random time together, you basically find that only a quarter of their time they are at work at any, if you look now, only maybe about a quarter of the people who live in that building are actually at work. If I go back to this, you say 12 people, and I think only the one that has the light color icon, if we go across, all the others are in their free time. So in fact, only 1 out of these 12 people are working there. Now that I don't think means that you have to estimate 1 out of 12 would go and work. I think the issue here is that what the player has then done to try and deal with this is put this building here. So Dnipro Flats 9, I believe, has been built later on in the development of this city, and I suspect has been put here deliberately to get people to work in the water well and the water treatment, and to work in some of these other buildings, such as some of the shops and restaurants and things like that. And the reason I think that is because, the design, as I mentioned, is these 8 tower blocks are fairly nicely laid out in this arrangement, and they're situated, let's not look inside of the buildings, they're situated around this bus stop with a sort of plaza effect where we have the 2 statues of Lenin in the middle here. And the idea in the design of the city appears to have been, we'll have this residential area, it's got 4 kindergarten close by and a couple of schools, but all of the amenities for this city, the university, the hospital, the fire station, a restaurant, this is a theatre, or no, it's a concert hall. And this is also part of the Ukrainian DLC. I think this is the cinema, and this is a restaurant. Yeah, and here at the bottom, at the extreme bottom of the hill, there's a couple of construction offices. This is a shopping centre and a grocery store. So you can see the way the city has been laid out, and it looks to me that the Flats 9 here has been added later. That wasn't the original intention, that they were trying to get the city to work in this arrangement. And we have buses that would take people from the residential area to the shops and the cinema and the concert hall. And the player has found this not working. And in particular, what they found was people were not going to the water well. And if you don't have people go to the water well, you don't produce water, and then you can't get people to go to the shops and things like that. So the original problem appears to be with water. Now I'm going to come back and I'm going to prove that this is not an issue with the water, and but there's problems with water, with the overall design of the water, but it's at the current moment in time, it is not that which is causing people to leave our city. Now you say, I've unpaused the game while I've been talking about the water well, and again another maybe 100 people have left this city, and that's quite worrying. So I may have already talked too much if I'm going to do this within an hour, but let me see what I can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to your distribution office. You have one single distribution office in this city, and it is here. And this city does not produce anything. There's no factories, no farms, no mines, anything like that. Everything is purchased through the customs office. That's going to cause problems in your long term, but you've got plenty of opportunity to sort this out and develop your city and build some factories. But at the minute, what you've got is a distribution office that goes to the customs office, and it loads up, and it knows that the 5 vehicles that you have, you've got 5 of these covered hulls. You've used the same model on all 5 of them, they're all identical. So you have 5 covered hulls, and it knows that covered hulls can hold crops, chemicals, fabric, etc. And you've told it to load up food, clothes, and electronics. Just the 3 things are being loaded up there currently. 2 of the trucks, the covered hulls, are away from the distribution office at the minute. They are probably up the hill, and one of the problems we're going to look at, I'm going to fix this by the way as well, is you have this traffic jam sitting up at the customs house. One of the problems here is you used a customs house, or it's probably been done for you, it's not your fault, because these buildings are already enabled on most maps. But the customs houses the vanilla customs houses are pretty inefficient at handling very much traffic, and you've got too many vehicles coming here anyway, and there's a traffic jam. So I'm gonna fix that, and so the first thing dramatically to fix this, and you think this is a joke here. I'm going to fix this by saying this one is going to this road depot, and sorry, I should have made sure that I was opening one of the ones that was here. This one's going to the road depot, and this one is going to the road depot because we do not need them. So there they go. At least 2 of them are going to go. I don't know if I said the 3rd one is one of the ones up at the traffic jam. It probably is. No, there it is. It's away. So here's back to the distribution office. I'm going to pause again. I mean, a lot of people wander around the city, by the way. So again, this is where the difficulty comes. You have thousands of people, and it appears to be loads of activity. People going to the shops, the cinema, and the restaurant, and things like that. It's difficult to spot where the issues are. Now, I was talking about the fact that this has commands to go and load things from the customs house, and then it delivers them to the orphanage, the grocery store, small shopping centre, and a restaurant. So the game has this setup that if we look at the orphanage, that you can have it deliver just food, and you can click food here, or you can deliver just clothes, and you can tick clothes here, but you cannot tick both. So if I try and tick the other one, when one's already ticked, the ticks are removed. Now, I think this is not good design by the developers, to be honest. I think it would make more sense and be more clearer that you'd have 2 ticks in here to indicate that you want both to be delivered. What it means when there's no ticks is everything is delivered. So there's no distinction. So if you don't want anything delivered, you have to take that unload out there so that it doesn't unload. So once you've got an unload here with that tick in, and neither the food nor the clothes, both will be delivered. So that's absolutely fine. The covered hulls can hold both of those, and we want both of them delivered to the orphanage. Now the grocery store only has food, so again no tick needed. And at the bottom of the list we have restaurant, only has food, no tick needed. Food will be delivered to it. But when we look at the shopping centre, what we've got is clothes is ticked, electronics is ticked, but food is not ticked. So that's telling the distribution office, don't bother to pick up food and deliver it to this shop. We don't want food delivered to this shop. So I think this is a mistake. And I think the first thing here is we need to take these ticks out and have food delivered to this shop. And that's fixed the first problem. But it is related to a second problem. And I think that wasn't just a mistake. I think that was done deliberately. And when I go to the shop that's involved, it's this one. So you have auto purchase enabled on most of your buildings. Now, I wouldn't do it, but then obviously I'm quite experienced at playing the game. I would make sure my distribution officers did work to deliver things. In realistic mode, you can't use auto purchase, and it does make it, it's one of the reasons why it's a harder mode to play with, because if for some reason your distribution officers stop working, say all your lorries became stuck in traffic jams, you could run out of food without noticing it. The auto purchase would allow you to still mean there's food and clothes and electronics in this shop. Now, what you can see is there's a ruble symbol above where there's auto purchase, but for food, it's set up as if it wants to auto purchase, but it's grayed out, and there's no food in this shop whatsoever. The reason for that is that there is a sort of internal storage within the shop. There's a warehouse in the back of the shop, if you like to imagine it that way. And you can limit the amount of storage used for the different types. So you can say, oh, I want this to be mainly have a certain item in it. And it certainly makes a lot of sense to significantly limit the amount of electronics in a shop. Why? Because electronics is very expensive to buy, and it's a bit of a luxury item. Yes, people will say they want electronics, but they won't leave your city because they don't get electronics. But the more electronics you can provide them, the more better off they become, if you like. What you'll see is they'll own a radio, and then later on in the game they own a TV, and later on in the game they own a PC. And you can use that with a radio station and a TV station to push out all sorts of propaganda to them if you want. So you can manage this way. And what we've got is food is set for 0%. So my first thing, this is my second fix, is this is wrong. Now, what I should have showed before I press play, by the way, is what we've got here is we've got 24 people selling things in this shop, and we've got 15 people in the shop. And what we've got is, the first one is, what's that name? Anyway, the first person here is in the shop, and their current demands are food, meat and clothes. And they were not going to get food. The second one, their demands, food, meat, clothes and culture, and they were not going to get food. The next one, Nikita, wanted food, meat, clothes and attractions, and they're not going to get food. Samuel wanted food, clothes, electronics, sport, and was not going to get food. Gleb wanted food, meat, clothes and attraction, and not going to get food. So what we've got is citizens turning up at this shop, and they've either walked here from Block 9 or they've managed to get here on the bus, which is not very easy, but they've managed to do it, and they've got their way to a shop, and then they found that this shop has got no food on the shelves. Now you imagine you go every week to your shopping at Walmart. You take your car to the shop. Perhaps it's quite some distance away, and it's the only shop, the only supermarket around where you live. And every week when you arrive, you go to the shelves and find, no, there's no fruit, there's no breakfast cereal, there's no tins of beans. Instead, there's hats, there's coats, there's shoes, there's gloves, there's all sorts of things like that. But there's no food on the shelves. You are going to be pretty upset because you're going to starve to death. And that's what's happening to these citizens. Now, you could say, of course, oh, well, the citizens are intelligent. What they'll do is they'll realise that the shopping centre doesn't have food, but this store does, and it's only a short walk away. But they're not that intelligent. They're using a random generator of where they're going to go to, and they only have 16 hours. So they found their way to the supermarket, and that's quite difficult for them, and then not got food. What we need is everyone who arrives here, and already within a couple more seconds we've got 63 people here. Everyone who arrives here has to be provided with food. Now, what we see is a lorry out. Oh, it's delivering meat. Oh, that's a shame. Of course, our lorries are stuck in the covered wagons that in the distribution office are stuck in the traffic jam up the hill. But sooner or later, the distribution office will send food as well as clothes here, and you won't be relying on the auto purchase. And so this has solved one of our problems. Now, the third one, if you like, is actually getting people to get here. And what I'm going to prove here is I'm going to stop this building working. And, what I wanted to do is have people that are getting to these places. I think in your original design, you didn't have this building. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop them walking to the shops. So all we do is just remove the roads and footpaths to this building. Come on, remove that. Oh, what have we got? We've got a car there. The secret police are visiting, is that? Or an ambulance? There we go. Road in. So some of them managed to get out before I chopped the road off, but now they're trapped inside the building and they can't go anywhere. So I'll just let that play, and you now see that we've got far less people walking down this thing. But see, all of those people walking down here, they, I believe, have just come off the bus. So that bus has stopped at that bus stop and dropped off all these people. So some people are definitely getting on the buses and getting down here. And let me just see where all these people are going to go to. Are they going to go to the shopping centre? Yes, they are. So that's quite good. So we've got people getting on buses and coming down to these bus stops, and you had difficulty getting them to go to work down here, but you're getting people to come to the shops and the restaurants and things there. We clearly see there is some people. However, not enough. So when we come back up the hill, what we've got here, so I'll go to this building, and what we've got is 538 people are living here out of, there's spaces for 593. So I suspect you've already had 60 people left. And out of that, 272 people don't have a job. Now, this is a problem within this city. I'm not going to fix that today. This is a problem that you don't have enough places for people to work. However, that makes it particularly frustrating, I think, if you're new to the game and think, well, I've got hundreds and hundreds of people without a job. They've got nowhere they don't have a job. Why are they not going and working in the power plant? Look, we've only got 5 people working in the power plant. You're importing all your power basically because of that. So, and why were they not going to work at the well and the water treatment centre? However, in a Soviet Republic, people do not escape and they don't die or have health problems because they don't have a job. In our planned economy, people can go to the shop and get food and meat and clothes and electronics, whether they have a job or not. They can have their children cared for at the kindergarten, whether they have a job or not. They go to the hospital and have treatment, whether they have a job or not. This is not modern day America that treats people like scum if they don't work, and says, no, you're not getting hospital treatment. No, your children can't go to the kindergarten. No, we'll not even give you a home. We'll put you out on the streets if you don't have a job. This is a community that looks after people. And these people who are unemployed get food if they can get to a shop. But what we look further down is out of 538 people, 412 were unable to get food. That's 80% of the people living in this building couldn't get food the last couple of days, and nearly as many couldn't get meat the last couple of days. And that's why they're leaving. They're leaving because they're not getting fed. They can't survive for very long like that. It's no more than a couple of weeks that they can last without getting food and meat. They have to get food and meat regularly. They can do without all of this other stuff. In fact, people can do without going to the pub. Some of them will not be happy if they're alcoholics, but most people will, they'll complain, they'll moan about it, but they won't leave your city because they can't go and get an alcoholic drink at the pub. They definitely won't leave because they can't get electronics or culture, or go to the church, or sport. It'll affect your overall happiness, and your overall happiness is not good, 39%. But they won't immediately leave. If they can't visit the hospital, they might get sick and they might die. But look, you've only got 25 people who couldn't go to the hospital out of nearly well over 500 people. So that's not very many, and that's not a major factor. The biggest problem is they're not getting food. So we've given them 2 buildings now that give them food, but what we need to do is get them to those buildings, because the nearest buildings, if we ignore building 9, the ones at the lowest point on the hill as we come down the hill from the customs office, if I put the walking on, you can see they can walk to some of these amenity buildings. They can walk to the university, they can walk to the fire station, and they can walk to the hospital. They can walk to the Ferris wheel. What else can they walk to? And they can walk to this building here, which is the indoor pool. So those people can get to the indoor pool, I think, can they? No, actually they can't. No, there's no walking icon to the... Oh, sorry, that is the indoor pool. Go back to the residential building and look at the walking. Yeah, the indoor pool is 339 meters away from the building. They can just about get there. They won't be able to get there, by the way, I think, in the winter if there's snow on the ground. The range of walking, I think, is reduced when there's snow if the snow plows don't immediately clear the snow. So, apart from the Ferris wheel, the attraction, they're not able to get to the restaurant to eat, and they're not able to get a shop to buy any food or meat. And that is our problem. Right, okay. So your problem is with buses and with bus stops. So the first thing I'm going to go to is go to your lines here. And if I go for passengers, you've got 3 bus lines. The first one is described as a border run. And when I enable that one, you see that it runs from the apartment blocks bus stop in the centre here up to the customs house and back. Now, I think this line is pointless. I don't know why you've got it. There is no reason on earth to have a line like this. You are not going to take your citizens to the customs house. They won't ever go to the customs house. There's nothing for them to do there. And I don't believe you are trying to bring tourists down from there. Maybe 1 or 2 tourists will get on the bus. and then go to the Ferris wheel. But that's about it. And I don't think you want foreign workers to come in the city. You've got enough workers of your own. You don't need more to come in the city. So I'm going to get rid of that bus line in due course, but I'm going to come back to that. And then we've got 2 other bus lines. I'll just pin that and go to the other one, which is counterclockwise. You've got 2 bus loops that do circular routes. So the first one that's highlighted here is the counterclockwise route, and it goes from the Vranyoskaya bus stop. Now, you've named your bus stops. I like that. It's quite useful to say, to understand where they actually are. But you haven't named this one. So when I go up to this one, I'm going to click on that. And again, to help me understand which bus stop I'm referring to all the time, this is the power plant bus stop. And then you see that name is used on the 2 lines. So that's quite useful again to help see where lines go to for that purpose. But we can see the green arrows on the roads showing us anywhere where we're talking about. So my first change is I'm going to tell this line, please don't go to the power plant. And the reason I'm going to do that is this line takes 365 seconds to do a circle route round the loop. Now, so you see the average lap time 365 seconds. Now, I believe the game operates something like 1 second of real time is 1 minute of game time. So I think this would make sense for the developers to show us in game time what we're talking about here. But I believe that this is 360 minutes of game time. 360 minutes divided by 60 is 6 hours. So that's basically telling you that this bus, one bus on this route, would take 6 hours to get all the way around the bus route. Now, why is that important? The first thing is nobody will travel on a bus for more than 4 hours. So if the bus takes them in the direction that they're not expecting to go, and they're on that bus for 4 hours and they still haven't got where they want to go to after 6 hours, before, it takes 6 hours to get to where they want to go to, and they've been on the bus for 4 hours, they just get off the bus and teleport home. They won't stay on even if it's 4 hours and 1 minute. Get to 4 hours, they get off. But I doubt that is the problem. The problem is more that they won't wait for a bus at a bus stop for more than 60 minutes of game time, 1 hour. So remember, there's hours in this game. I've already mentioned they have a working time of 8 hours, a free time of 16 hours. They will wait at a bus stop of up to an hour. So that's actually quite a reasonable time. And most of us in our day-to-day life would not wait for a bus for an hour. I'd be pretty naffed off if I went to a bus stop and I was waiting for a full hour for a bus. People will wait for up to an hour, and after an hour they will give up. So that is your biggest problem here. And there is 3 buses on this line, but if you calculate that each bus takes 6 hours to get to, if they visit the apartments, it'll be 6 hours before they get back and visit the apartments a second time. With 3 buses on the line, that means they will visit every 2 hours, and the people waiting at that bus stop will only wait for 1 hour. So that is our problem. So what I want to do is make this bus line shorter, and so that it's more frequent. So I'm going to take the power plant off. Sorry, don't. Just highlight the power plant, click delete stop, and that's gone. Save. And I'm going to do the same with the counterclockwise. The counterclockwise has pretty much the same route. It also goes to the power plant. So as its first option, it goes there's its last stop, and it goes a slightly different route at the bottom here around where the shops are, which is why it's been described as clockwise. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm going to take the power plant off. And I'm going to say, yep, accept the changes. So now we have two shorter routes that are going to get from the apartments to the shops quicker. Now, I think in a perfect world, we'd probably want to add more buses onto these routes as well, but I'm not going to. I think that's going to be fine. So that's our first, that's my third fix, if you like. So the first fix, distribution offers, distribute food to the shop. Second one is allow the shop to have food. Third fix is shorten those two bus routes so they don't go to the power plant anymore. These two bus routes are purely for passengers to go to the shops at the bottom of the hill. So I'm going to cut the video here. We've made very good progress towards fixing this city. We are going to continue in a second part, maybe even a third part. I'm going to look to further improve the shopping, improve your bus routes a little bit more, including take workers to the power plant. We're going to look at the power a little bit, and we're going to look at the water system. The water system needs a fair amount of work. It's not essential to fix this city, but it would be a useful learning exercise, I think, to see this. And we will need to fix your heating system before the winter. There is a major problem, and we will look at that and see and get that sorted out. In the progress, we might lose a few people, just to give you a heads up. But we are going to we're going to enjoy ourselves anyway, and we're going to see what we can do with this city. I've enjoyed looking at Vranyoskaya so far, and I hope you have too. I hope you've got something out of the video, that you've enjoyed this, and it's been interesting. If you have liked it, then don't forget to like and subscribe, and then you will get automatic notification when further parts come up. And I'm hoping to provide more videos. I have in mind a major series. If there's some interest in that, then I will produce that of my own republic. So I look forward to that. My channel's Canny Gaming, and my name's Mark. I'm out of here. Thanks. Bye.